Yeah, I wanted to ask about the vaping exemption. First, like why this vaping law is, how it's affecting the district currently, why the district needs the exemption, and what the district plans to do now that we have this exemption.
Feel free to chime in.
I mean, this is one of the things, thank you, Superintendent Miles. This was actually one of the things that was a deal maker for me. I think that the law is unjust. You may know that in Texas you can arrest and jail a child as young as 10 years old. And so by introducing our kids for what is, in my opinion, amounts to a very common mistake, bringing a vape pen or having it in their possession, immediately sending them to a DAP situation opens the doors for them to kind of get into the pipeline for the school to prison pipeline. So as like, even just for me individually, I have 2 middle school boys. I would hate for them to be held accountable at that level for such a mistake. I'm gonna hold them accountable. I'm their mom. And I don't want to see them enter the school to prison pipeline, especially as children of color, especially as at least one of them has an IEP. And we already know that our children of color, especially boys, and children who have IEPs are disproportionately punished. And so this allows us to exempt ourselves from what is already an unjust law. And I think there's other things that the community can and should do alongside of the work that we're doing here to undo that unjust law. But for now, it allows us as a district to opt out of that immediate and severe consequence.
Yeah, is there going to be, what will be, I don't know if punishment's right, but what will be the consequence for vaping?
So the DOI plan now allows us to have more flexibility. So for some students, it'll be an in-school suspension. For others, it'll be out-of-school suspension. It's not, we don't have to automatically send them to a DAEP program. So it'll be just like a lot of progressive discipline plans. It depends on, you know, has this happened before with the kid? Is it an exception? Is there other complicating factors? There's always will be consequences, don't get me wrong. But we're able to be much more differentiated in our approach and not one size, you have to go to DAEP.
All right, I'm going to come to you after Asher, but Ms. Margaret has a question. She lost her voice, so I'm going to read it for Superintendent Miles. At last night's meeting, there was again mention that teachers are being bullied, yelled at in front of students. Does your administration investigate cases of this? I thought you previously said you didn't want a climate of fear.
Yeah, I don't want a climate of fear, and if people bring specific cases to the administration through the grievance process or through the executive director, for example, if they're afraid to go through their principal, they can go through their executive director. We'll investigate specific cases of bullying. I don't want to talk in the hypothetical because, and I know I may not see everything, but I work with I have a meeting with EDs every morning, every Monday morning. I have a meeting with the division superintendents. I train principals once a month. I mean, I see them a lot. So if there are challenges, and by the way, we have the teacher advisory council or committee every month. If there are specific challenges like that, we will address them. That's not right for a principal to bully any teacher or employee period. And so if that's happening, we'll stop it.
All right, Asher, and then we'll go back to Pooja.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having this meeting. And as Celeste said, it makes a lot of sense to me why the extended calendar will hopefully spur academic gains. I wanted to ask about the financial side of that because, as Pooja was asking about, like, there will be some change in compensation. At the same time, we've heard about expanding NES next year as well as enrollment drops that were expected this year. So, like, you've told us before the budget will be balanced, but can you tell us a little bit more about exactly how?
So it's a long question, but I'm going to give you the short answer. Budgeting process starts in January. When we get back from winter break, you will have a district action plan, clear plan of what our goals and metrics will be for the 24-25 school year. That then becomes the basis for division and department plans and their budgets. We'll have a district budget where the bottom line is no lower than $850 million fund balance. The departments then make their district action plan, tying their budgets to the action plan we do, and I know this is long, but if you want a real answer, let me just give you a little bit more detail then. We do a process called 60-20-20, where we prioritize every department budget, A, B, and C. 60% are A priorities, B priorities, C priorities. And we make sure that we are then prioritizing our resources and making sure we don't go over budget. And that process is an iterative process throughout the spring, so that when we bring a budget to the board in May, it is aligned, it's tight, and we meet budget. If we have revenue that's lower because of lower anticipated student enrollment or lower state funding, whatever it is, we will stay within budget because of the process that we put in place. That's why I'm very confident that we can do what we say we're going to do, because we're going to prioritize the need.
And just a quick follow-up is, like, you know, you've also said that this year there's no planned school consolidation, or no planned school consolidations for next year. You know, drawing that budget down does imply some level of cuts. Can you tell us anything about what might be, you know, on the chopping block?
Yeah, I don't want to get too far into it because we haven't made the budget. That, you know, we're planning on doing the budget. But you're right. I mean, the premise is right, meaning in order to expand in some other areas and prioritize, that means some other areas are deprioritized. And part of that is the amount of purchase services that we have. Right now, we've gone from somewhere north of $450 million in purchase services to $300 million in purchase services, and we're going to cut that down to somewhere around $250, $240 million in purchase services. We are not done with our efficiencies in central office, so there'll be, we're looking closely at where we can gain efficiencies there. And then we stop doing things that we should not be doing. You probably don't know that we, the district, the year before I got here, bought 170 buses we didn't need. That's not good. So there are many other things like that. We stopped the purchase service of $125 million for training principals, $125 million over 5 years, just to train principals on time management. Those are things we can cut and stop doing and put our money in our priorities.
All right, go ahead, Pooja.
Speaking of the budget, I know the Houston Chronicle today put out an article saying that the Convocation, including the musical, cost taxpayers nearly $470,000. How do you justify that expenditure?
So the Convocation was one of the best things we did at the beginning to line Destination 2035. Put yourself back at that time. Teachers had just come back. We talked about Destination 2035 and what that actually means for schools, both NES and NES aligned schools. And so that was our first opportunity to live stream, which is where the cost comes in, at every high school. Live streaming, you know, takes some effort to do for every high school, so that the message would be replicated clearly to all the schools, the Destination 2035 message. It was also a chance to inspire and help teachers feel good about teaching and about working for our kids. It highlighted several school groups, and they did a great job, by the way. And so we're going to do Convocation again. It's a good platform to really help our teachers, and we'll think about how much professional development we do at one site, but we'll also do professional development at the beginning of the year as well, with some really good district level PD. All that to say, we need to continue to communicate well and inspire at the same time. People talk about how tough this is. They also need to hear how much how important teachers are to this effort, and how much we appreciate what teachers do and how tough it is. Those messages can't be done just by walking around. Sometimes you have to, you know, talk to groups as a whole in a Convocation type setting. So I think it was well worth it. I wish somebody would ask me about the 111 schools that we need to transform and how tough that's going to be, and how we're going to inspire teachers to get that job done.
So are there any plans, when you do it again this year, in the upcoming year, are there any plans to cut costs? Or would you expect that this next upcoming one would cost about the same?
I don't think, I mean, first of all, you know, every venue is a little bit different, and to the extent that we can get philanthropy, we're going to do that. And we probably won't have to live stream to every high school, so the cost will be lower.
All right, we're gonna go to Fox next and then come back to Margaret.
He just answered it.
You answered it? Okay. All right, I'll read from Margaret again. All right, is that 10? Okay, with. All right. With the expanded school year, what effect will this have on summer school? When is it, when is it, hold on, let's see.
When is it and how long?
Okay, yeah. When is it and how long will it be? Will that cut cost?
So summer school is part of the calendar. We have several different versions that we're going to bring, like I said. So I don't know the exact answer, except that we are shooting for a summer school of 5 weeks. So more than it was last year. 5-week summer school versus 3 weeks summer school.
Megan?
Certainly not about the OI, but it happened yesterday. I wanted to ask about the vote to hire uncertified counselors and why the district feels the need to do that.
Yeah, I don't know the number. I think it was like only a couple counselors that the board voted to accept. And I think that was to fill a couple of the vacancies. And right now, so vacancies in the district right now. And so I think that's why they voted to support it, because it's hard to find counselors mid-year, and so having people with some experience but maybe not certified who can still do the job, I think that's helpful for kids.
Any other questions? Telemundo, do you have anything?
No.
Okay, any other questions? All right.
All right. Thank you, Celeste. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Superintendent. Thank you.
All right, folks, thank y'all. And if I don't see y'all, which I'm pretty sure I will next week, y'all have a happy holiday.
Do you think you'll have another one of these before the year's over?
Probably not.
Okay.
I mean, depends on what they, what they find is important to talk about, but most likely not.
Me too. Excited with the, you came to our candidate forum.
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
Do you know if they're gonna run the house for storage tonight, or are they gonna do, the
I
district?
think we'll combine both.
Oh,
Yeah,
both, okay.
yeah, yeah. So